I call the honourable member for Corangamite.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Will the Treasurer outline how getting the budget under control will allow us to build a stronger economy and a better Australia?
I call the honourable Treasurer.
Well, I thank the honourable member for Corangamite for her question and note that because we have laid down a budget that asks people to contribute so that we can build, that's how we're able to build the East-West link in Victoria, which is going to make a substantial difference in Melbourne and also to Geelong, cutting 3 hours of travel time from Geelong into Melbourne each week, which is a productivity improvement. But we can only do that if we're allowed to get on with the job of fixing the mess that was left behind by Labor. And of course they left us behind $667 billion of debt. If no action is taken immediately, in 10 years' time, $667 billion of debt, that's $25,000 for every man, woman and child in Australia as a result of what Labor's done in just 6 years. That's nearly $3 billion a month in interest. Even now we're paying about $1 billion a month in interest on the debt left behind by Labor. And here's the interesting thing. 70% of that $1 billion a month goes to people living overseas who we've borrowed money from. 70% of that money every month, $700 million a month, is being sent by the Australian government to people who are living overseas to pay the interest on the debt that Labor left behind.
The member for Moreton.
See, they don't get it.
Desist.
They don't actually understand the implications of their spending decisions. So when Labor was handing out $900 cheques, even to dead people overseas, and building massively expensive school halls, when they were running all those deficits, someone had to pay. Someone had to pay. We had to borrow the money, and 70% of that money has come from people living overseas. So now we have to pay the interest back on that debt. Now, Labor thinks there is no problem. The Labor Party is in denial, not just about what they've done, but the challenge for the future. And that's why they are opposing $40 billion of savings. $40 billion of savings. $5 billion of those savings were promises they made at the last election, which they now want us to break. Their own savings they oppose. So now we have a clear situation of the hypocrisy of Labor. They are opposing the savings they took to the last election, which would fix the budget. They are now opposing a co-payment on Medicare that they originally came up with. They are now opposing freezing of family tax benefits, which they did in government. They are now opposing changes to university fees, which they initially introduced. They have no principles. They are outright hypocrites. But Australia is paying.